welcome to Thursdays with Charlie. It's the 6th of August, and this is show number 14. Can't believe that we have come through 13 shows, and we're on our 14th already. We're very glad, and we welcome people from the 14 states that we know are watching, as well as from Germany and from Canada, who we also know are watching. We're very glad to have you with us. I have a new addition for the show. My production staff went out and got this beautiful mug made up with our logo from Thursdays with Charlie. And on the back, live, love, laugh. It's so nice, it must be paradise. So I'll be able to sip coffee if I'd like, or keep it just handy over by the side of my desk as I go through. We're very glad to have you with us today. The 6th of August is an important day. It's an important day in religious history and as well as in American history. 75 years ago today, on the 6th of August 1945, was the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. And then 3 days later, on the 9th of August, the dropping of a second bomb on Nagasaki. And on the 15th of August in 1945, 75 years ago, Japan surrendered. The atomic bombs had done their work of bringing the war to an end much more quickly than we thought it would have been possible. It's interesting, the atomic test site is out in the desert in Nevada, very near a lot of our rural parishes, and a number of members of our rural parishes have worked for the test site over the years. There's also an atomic energy museum in Las Vegas on Flamingo Road. I think after this COVID virus crisis ends, it'll be wide open again and you'll be able to go in there and visit. Certainly worth the trip to see the Atomic Energy Museum and the part Nevada played in the development of the atomic bomb program, and all to do with atomic energy over the years. In religious history, the 6th of August, though, is the feast of the Transfiguration of Jesus. That beautiful story in the Gospels where Jesus takes his three most trusted disciples, Peter, James, and John, and they go up on the mountain. We presume it was Mount Tabor in Israel, and they go up on the top of the mountain, and there Jesus is somehow miraculously transformed in front of them. He takes on this radiance of light, and they're kind of dumbfounded by it. And the Father's voice is heard, and Jesus begins his very mighty preaching mission soon thereafter. That mountain experience is something the disciples, Peter, James, and John, never forgot. In fact, in the Gospels it said they wanted to stay there. They didn't want to leave. They didn't want it to end. If we were part of the Eastern rites of our church, the Byzantine rites and some of the other Eastern rites of our church, the Feast of the Transfiguration is one of the most important holy days in the year, be a day on which people would gather for Mass. It's much more celebrated in the Eastern Church than it is in our Western Latin Rite churches. But it is happening on today, the Feast of the Transfiguration. We started doing something about the history of our parish last week, and I'd just like to recap some of that and then go on with a little bit more of our wondrous history. This year we become 28 years old as the Catholic Church here in Laughlin, Nevada, and it all began for us with our first celebration of Masses on the weekend of August 15th and 16th in 1992. First priest who was assigned here was Father John McShane. He came as our first administrator. We were established as a mission. Sometimes people ask, when you say you're a mission, does that mean that you're connected to another parish? And yes, technically, as far as we can tell, we were a mission of St. Peter's Parish in Henderson, out on Boulder Highway. Although St. Peter's Parish never provided priests for our parish, but on paper we were connected with them as a mission. Father John McShane came here in the July of 1992. Our first masses were the weekend of August 15th and 16th of 1992, and that was in the Gold River Casino, which was Samstown Gold River, became the River Palms, and is now the Laughlin River Lodge. We were there for the 4 years that Father John McShane was part of our parish. Father John established most of our things. He really set the tone for our future. He was all over town visiting people. He was known for giving assistance wherever needed. Kind of like if you gave Father John some item of clothing, you can almost expect to see it on someone else by the end of the month. He was very, very generous and continues to be. He established our first guild. It was known as the St. Elizabeth Guild for the ladies, that named after the mother of St. John the Baptist. And they had meetings, and eventually it evolved into our St. John's Guild. Father John was also the one who rented and then bought the rectory from John and Ann Altamari, and that rectory is still on Terrace View Drive, and it's still our rectory for the parish. He had the first parish meetings. He had the first communion. He had the first wedding. Father John kept a diary of sorts, kind of a large book that he wrote in. And occasionally I like to go back to the diary and just look at what he said about our first couple of weekends. Father John established the parish bulletin and many other traditions in our parish. He certainly loved being here. When you get your letter this week, if you have not already received it, our monthly letter for August has a picture of Father John McShane standing by the Welcome to Laughlin sign with a little advertisement about our parish masses at the Gold River Casino. So you can enjoy that picture as well. The second priest who was assigned here as an administrator was Father, now Monsignor, Kevin McAuliffe, who came in August of 1996, and he stayed only 11 months till June of 1997. Father Kevin worked at the diocese. He also worked as a tribunal judge. He has since, after leaving us and going to Vegas for a while at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Parish, he has become a priest in the Byzantine rite of the church, and he's working for the Eparchy Diocese of Phoenix in the Byzantine Church over in Phoenix, Arizona. Father Kevin, I always think of him whenever I put a vestment on that seems way too long for me. I always think of Father Kevin because he was quite tall. He's remembered for wearing cowboy boots most of the time, and most of the vestments that he purchased are way too long on me, but I still kind of like it. They're a good memory of him. Father Kevin was the one who moved us from the Gold River, or River Palms, or now Laughlin River Lodge, to the riverside. That happened in the summer of 1997. So after about 4 years at the Samstown Gold River, we moved to the riverside for our Sunday Masses, and we have been there ever since. The weekday Masses continued to be celebrated in the dining room of the rectory on Terrace View Drive. In July of 1997, Father Peter Romeo was assigned here as the administrator. Father Romeo worked in the diocese as well, was also a tribunal judge, and was assigned with us for about 2 years from July of 97 till July of 1999. He went on from here to become the pastor of Our Lady of Las Vegas Parish, as well as working in the diocesan tribunal as one of the judges. Father Peter Romeo died a couple of years ago in 2010. He is the only priest who has served here in our parish who has died, one of our administrators. Father Peter, I remember, used to sell little glass fish to raise money for the building of our present church building. Those little glass fish were kind of the trademark thing, and they were sold. And I believe they charged $3 each for them. And it's kind of a nice remembrance of what he did while he was here. Then we get to August of 1999. From then until June of 2001, we had Father Ray Schultz. Father Ray Schultz was the administrator for those 2 years. He was a priest of the Diocese of Belleville in Illinois. And Father Ray was considering moving out to Las Vegas. He worked at a few places out here, but after those 2 years here and a little more time in the diocese, Father Ray decided to go back to the Diocese of Belleville in Illinois, became pastor of Holy Trinity Parish there, and retired recently from that job as pastor there. Father Ray worked a lot building up the funds for the construction of the church, keeping the parish going, maintaining a good relationship with the community. He certainly was known and loved by all around. In July of 2001, Father Frank Inserto came here, and he was here with us as administrator for 7 years. Father Frank is the one who eventually constructed the church. He was the priest who was here when our church was built in 2003, thereby giving us a place to have masses on weekdays as well as on weekends. But we always kept up that relationship with the casino, with the Riverside, for these past many, many years. And we look forward after this COVID virus to going back to the Riverside for our main Sunday masses. The relationship with the casino is something that's very important to us as well as to our locals and the tourists and the visitors who come to our town. If you come to by our church over here, you can see a plaque on the front which lists Father Frank as the administrator here when the church was built, and it was dedicated on Columbus Day weekend in 2003. And then in July of 2008, I came here, and I have been here ever since. As a matter of fact, last month I began my 13th year as administrator here. I think the thing I'm most proud of is in 2009, I was able to get the bishop to declare us a full-fledged parish rather than a mission. We had achieved status as being a parish. We were providing all the services of a parish. We had a stable community as a parish. And so on the 24th of June 2009, Bishop Joseph Pepe declared that we were a full-fledged parish in the Diocese of Las Vegas, standing on our own and no longer a parish mission. That was also the month in which we paid off the mortgage on this church building, which was kind of amazing that in 6 years, from 2003 until 2009, we were able to pay off the entire mortgage on the building. I'm very proud to serve our diocese on the personnel board, as well as being the first ever rural dean. So I get to represent a lot of the activities in our rural parishes, and they are wonderful. And you'll be hearing more and more about that, in the months to come. But there were other priests and deacons who were associated with our parish over the years. We have to mention Father Joseph DiStefano, for many years served as our parish as an assistant, coming and visiting when he was in the area. He had several homes in the area over the years on either the Bullhead side or on the Laughlin side. He was a priest of the Diocese of Orange in California and enjoyed his time with us when he spent it. Father Joe has since died several years ago, but we do remember him and the mark he left on our community. We have two deacons, Deacon Dan McHugh, who has been with us for a number of years, usually as a deacon who would be here seasonally in the winter season, and then going up to Lake Tahoe for the summer season. But this year he's spending more and more time with us, so we're very grateful for that. And Deacon Richard Lambert, who joined us a few years ago. Deacon Richard lives right here in Laughlin and is basically with us year-round. The two deacons bring a variety of talents and graces to our parish, and we're very glad to have both of them with us, almost full-time for both of them now, and that hopefully will continue for many, many years to come. Two other priests have played a role, I think, in our parish that is very important. During the year around the summer of 2010, I was spending part of my time up at St. Francis in Henderson, and the priest up there, Father John Asselone, was my assistant up there, but he would come down and help us out. When I would be in Henderson, Father John Asselone would be here in Laughlin. And so for about 5 months in 2010, we shared the two parishes, Father John Asselone and I. Father John is remembered by many people here and certainly loved his time coming down and visiting with us here. And of course, I would have to mention Father Michael Moore, who for many, many years has been coming to us as our priest to give the parish mission every Lent. Comes back to us. He's a priest of the Society of St. Patrick, an Irish society of priests. He currently resides out in the Chicago area, and he comes back very happily to be with us to give our parish mission during the first week of Lent every year. And he will continue doing that. We are looking forward to having him back in 2021. He was able to do our parish mission in 2020, fortunately completing it before the COVID virus became so severe and throughout our nation. He'll be back in 2021. Every priest who has been here, our two deacons as well, have all left their mark on our community, have all had great strengths and graces and talents that have done particular things for us. And we're very grateful in our history, 28 years, we can look back and we're very grateful to have had the services of all the people who have worked here. 6 of the priests, myself included, have been designated as administrators of the parish. And the one question we get periodically is, why are you named as administrator and not as pastor? Well, the first reason would be a mission does not have a pastor. So the first 5 priests assigned here had to be assigned as administrators because the mission does not have a pastor. I've been here as administrator, and then we became a parish while I was here. But since I'm a priest of the Archdiocese of Newark in New Jersey, I can't be named a pastor in this diocese, so I remain as administrator. There's a good side to that, though, which I want to point out. Pastors have term limits. Administrators do not. Administrators can stay briefly, as Father Kevin did, being here only 11 months. Administrators can stay long, as in my case, I've been here starting my 13th year. So I don't have to worry about term limits, which is a really nice thing to do. So I'm glad to serve as your administrator. As far as functions, there's no difference whatsoever between what an administrator or what a pastor can do within a parish. And so I proudly carry the title of administrator of St. John the Baptist here in Laughlin. Father John McShane, in his diary and in the bulletins that we have from that period, left us some beautiful tributes and some beautiful starting points for our parish. Within less than a month of the parish beginning, in fact, on September the 13th, 1992, Father McShane held the first parish meeting. It was held in the casino, and they gathered between the Sunday masses, and they discussed what would be like, what the future would be like for us. He offered a vision of great hope. He explained that we're a mission and that we don't provide, at that time certainly a month old, all of the services of a full-fledged parish, but we hope to. And we've been blessed with great local people, with great local visitors, with great support from all sides. And so our hope was that even as we began as a parish, Father John said that we were graced by the power of Jesus Christ in our midst. And he always put forth a vision of hope. Someday we will be a parish, and that has come true. And someday we'll be able to proudly serve the people all along our river, and that has come true. And we're very grateful to be here. We're very grateful for the start that Father John McShane and the other priests who have been here and our deacons have given us over these first 28 years of our existence. I'd like to do a little bit of a show and tell. We are gathering materials of our past, and they're wonderful to have, and we're very grateful for them. A number of years ago, some of our parishioners, Joanne Ponzi being one of them, started a scrapbook. And the scrapbook is a collection of pictures, of newspaper articles. I'm just going to hold it up briefly. You can maybe see it a little bit that way. We go through this periodically and get a little bit of our history. As the years go by, we're going to try to make that a little more formal and a little more complete, and maybe have it on display so that other people can enjoy going through it as well. We have a remnant from our time at the Gold River Casino. One of our parishioners donated a slot machine front from one of the nickel slot machines at the Gold River. So we're glad to have that as part of our parish history here. We also have mugs. On my mug that I have is not the only mug in our history. We have mugs that were put out when our church was built, and we're grateful to that. You might remember the watchmen over at the Riverside. In our early days, after Father McShane was here and Father Kevin moved us to the Riverside, we had our 3 Sunday Masses listed on a watch, the 8 a.m., the 10 a.m., the 12 noon Mass, all at the Riverside at the time, and the watchmen sold these watches, and they were a good way of tourists remembering when it was time for Mass. Most of you have already seen our parish chips that we continue to sell, our casino chips showing our connection with the casino here in Laughlin, the Riverside. I mentioned that Father Peter Romeo sold these little fish. They were connected with a little glass globe by a bit of fishing twine, and you would put them in an aquarium or a bowl of water, and the globe would stay up on top, and the fish would float in the water. Many, many hundreds of these were sold, and when you look at our church, remember that that money went into the building of our church, and we're very grateful for that. I have mentioned in the past that over 500 signatures were gathered for the building of our parish, for the establishment of St. John the Baptist, the sending of a priest here to Laughlin, and we have those. This is a copy. We have the original ones preserved, but this is a copy, and one of these signatures is Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Reagan, the White House. We have many other names, and many of those parishioners, their families still attend Mass with us here. They have not moved out of the area. We're very grateful to see them. Again, when we get a little chance to make some displays up, we'd like to put these lists on display so people can come and look and see the names that were signed into existence on this petition to get ourselves started here. I found some signs from our past. This was an old reminder down at the Gold River Casino of our Mass times that they put up. They had it hanging at the entrance there so that people could find us in it. This was our certificate of occupancy when they built the church in 2003. What I like about this is the certificate of occupancy says that we are fire coded to have 499 people in this building. Now, I have no idea how we would get 499 people in the building, but I hang on to it because if the diocese and if the state of Nevada during this COVID virus ever goes to a percentage of occupancy, our percentage, if we got 50% of, say, 500, we would be allowed 250 people. If we got 25%, we'd be allowed 125 people instead of the 50 people which we're currently allowed to have at our services. This was an early bulletin. We used to print our own bulletins, and they would have advertisements in them, again, from the watchman at the Riverside, from some local stores. And they were great ideas to spread news around. Our bulletins are currently printed by J.S. Pollock, but we used to print our own. If anybody has any of the old bulletins, we would be delighted to have them as part of our historical display. And over the years, we have sold shirts. many, many times at various points for the building of the church, for the establishment of the parish, for various things. And maybe we'll go back to that at some time in the future, selling shirts. We have a beautiful booklet. We were fortunate to have several of these. It was put together when the church was dedicated. What most people don't know is the building of St. John the Baptist Catholic Church in October of 2003 was the first full-time church building ever constructed in Laughlin, Nevada. So it was a big thing for the community as well as for our parishioners to have the church go up. And I found among our things a picture of our first Holy Communion class. This was taken in the casino. It was in June of 1993 with Father McShane and our first communicants. It's a nice remembrance of starting out the first communion class that we ever had. We're grateful, and some of those people are still around and still seen in our community and in our church. We're grateful that they've grown up with us. Well, it's about time for Pascal to come on down and bring us his message of the day. We have our beautiful owl with us, and he brings a message. What does he bring today? He brings Ave Atque Vale. Translated, it's hail and farewell, or hello and goodbye, if you will. It's actually taken from the writings of a Roman poet, Catullus. He wrote it as a tribute to his brother who had died. And he greeted his brother in death and said, hail, I'm so proud to have been with you in life. And farewell, I send you off to the future. Hail and farewell is kind of a nice thing for us to remember as we go through our lives, that there are always going to be greetings and startings and new things, but there are always going to be goodbyes that have to be said as well. So hail and farewell. It's a part of life. Ave Atque Vale. God bless, and thanks for joining us for Thursdays with Charlie. God bless.